咱们现在开始。确认一下序名。
Hello everyone, I'm Meiling from University Law School. Today, I'm so honored to have this chance to discuss issues related to open source from a professional point of view. What I'd like to share next consists of 4 sections, which on the whole will discuss why we need law in open source, what legal issues might involve, and how can we meet the requirements of legal compliance. Okay, let me kick off my topic with the relationship of open source and the law. Some people might believe that the law, especially intellectual property law, is a system that protects exclusive rights. So it runs in the opposite direction of open source spirit, like free sharing and contribution. However, I have to say that law is not an enemy against open source. They certainly have different operating trails, but they do share the same goal of promoting innovation, improving social welfare, and human development. So, do not ignore it or hate it. On contrast, please welcome it and embrace it. You'll find it rewarding and empowering. In the context of open source, law can play two kinds of roles. On one hand, it is a useful weapon to prevent your rights and interests from infringing, like sharing. On the other hand, you can also use it like a spear to fight back towards those who maliciously attack you. For example, the so-called patent trolls. In a word, what law really wants to do here is maintain trust and help to create a better ecosystem for open source. Until now, our law community still mainly pay much attention to owning open source software, but with the rapid development of open source hardware, we gradually notice that it is also a very important question. Before we move to specific issues, it's necessary to spend a few minutes figuring out the difference between open source software and open source hardware, and whether this kind of difference may cause special legal concern towards the open source hardware. Here, I have to admit that technical field is not where I am good at, so I try to explore their difference from a legal perspective. According to the definition by Open Source Hardware Association, we can see that they differ in many ways. As the object to be open, the shared, the license to be applied, and the business maturity, and so on. But from a legal perspective, among those, the key is the object. And the law, when the object we are discussing changes, the law generally needs to change its focus and analysis logic as well. So for details, let's move to our specific issues section. Unlike technology, which generally is regarded as neutral, the law has distinct regional features. Different nations formulate their own law based on their own interests. Although basic scenarios might be similar, but specific rules vary widely, and these rules even may be conflicting in some cases. So, when you prepare to do something in open source, it's better to know the applicable law that is often set in the by law or license agreement. This will help you understand what laws will regulate your behaviors or activities. Open source is not a room where the law is written. It still needs to comply with all kinds of laws, including civil law, administrative law, criminal law, and international law. At yesterday's forum, a bunch of well-known professors already talk about some issues. Next, I also want to share some of my comments. Okay, first one, contract law. A contract is generally defined as a legal agreement between two or more parties. In open source, contract law may run in two parts. One is, as we all know, the license, and other agreements still need to be paid attention, such as by law, contributors agreement, users agreement, and also the privacy policy, etc. But if you break this kind of agreement, no matter intentional or unintentional, you may undertake such responsibilities as stopping your breach act right now. It means that you have to end the activities of using, developing, publishing, or distributing. Besides, you may also need to pay damages. Okay, license is the most important component of open source law. And the license itself is a legal instrument that deals with almost all of your rights and interests. Most of you may feel the contract's content is too complicated and elusive, just like the privacy policy in electronic products. But you should know, there are many hidden risks in it. Even the difference of a word or punctuation may cause serious consequences. So my advice here is treat it seriously or ask lawyers help you understand. For the license in open source software, they already have a lot of studies and experiences. Here, I'd like to focus on the license in open source hardware. Compared to software, open source hardware license is less. As far as I know, the Open Source Hardware Association, the OSHWA, runs a certificate program that is similar to license. And the OSHWA has set out its license criteria. Besides, OSHWA is open to collaborate with TAPR and the CER and Open Hardware License. Okay, this page on the slide shows the OSHW license and its according required conditions. Next, IP law. IP law is a legal system to protect the IP rights and interests based on intellectual products. In the family of IP law, copyright law, patent law, and trademark law are the most relevant. So let's look at the copyright. About copyright law, I guess there is some basic information you might be interested in. Copyright law's protective object is literary and artistic works, and it only protects the expression of works, not the ideas. Copyright is automatically granted. This means you're entitled to have this kind of right since the time you finish your work. Copyright has two kinds of rights. One is economic rights and another is moral rights. For the economic rights, the duration of protection varies in different countries. For example, in EU and US is 70 years, but in China it's 50 years. And for moral rights, there is no limit. Okay, for that balance, copyright law sets out some exceptions and limitations. For example, the fair use. That means that you can use the work without authorization or financing under certain conditions. And the work, computer programs, and the documentation certainly fall into the scope of copyright protection. But the controversial question here is that copyright law apply to open source hardware. Some scholars hold that the answer is no. But from my point of view, there is still room to discuss. On one hand, hardware do not exist without the literary and artistic works. The design drawing, the description, and other documentations still can be protected through copyright law. On the other hand, copyright law also protects the tangible products, like works of applied art, work of architecture. So my advice for this part is that do not forget copyright law will conduct hardware compliance. Next, patent law. Patent is a legal protection for any creative inventions. It has reauthorized conditions, novelty, inventiveness, and utility. Patent is a system to use publication to exchange protection. Patent has three objects: invention, utility model, and the industry design. Invention's protection time is 30 years, and the utility model and the industry design is 10 years. Likewise, patent also sets out limitations, like the prior use and the compulsory license. Generally speaking, if you have an invention or creative product, you are entitled to choose hide it under the protection of a trade secret law, or you can also choose to open it to exchange the copyright. Patent is not automatically granted. So if you do not apply for patent legally into your source, you still have copyright protection, but you will no longer have a patent right. So my advice in this regard is that apply for patent protection ahead of time and conduct a careful patent search before you decide to choose open source. In addition, giving open source is generally international. I also advise you apply international patent protection through PCT system at the same time. Here we go. The trademark does not only have the function of distinguishing the individual source, it also creates its owner's image, reputation, and quality assurance. Likewise, trademark right is not automatically generated. It needs to apply for registration. Really, previously associated are registered trademark. Did have a legal dispute over this, but unfortunately, we finally made settlements and agreed to let these two laws coexist. Until now, open hardware still has not voted. There's been some troubles for this association, like misuse and free riding. So I prefer to advise that register your trademarks and manage its license and use. After discussing IP right protection, I'd like to say something about right abuse. Theoretically, it's fair to utilize your rights. It's okay. But the original intention of IP law or the other law is to hope that the right holders use their rights reasonably. Recently, we mentioned a lot about NTE and patents, which to some extent already affected the normal operation of open source, just because of the diversities. the patent and Bush malicious lawsuit and ask for injunction just to get high settlement fees. For this, I chose my advice toolkit to fight back, including first one, due diligence before use. Ask specialized persons to do research and evaluate in advance. Try not to infringe or violate at the early stage. Second, if IP chose to keep an eye on you, do not be nervous because it's probably a trap. IP chose true intention is not to ask you to stop using. What they really want is considerable amount of money for other commercial purpose. Third, enhance your body power. For example, store some fundamental patents and use them as a partnership for cross-licensing. If you unfortunately suffer a lawsuit, constantly antitrust, use anti-laws, anti-abuse principles, and antitrust law to fight back. There are many successful cases, especially if the patent constitutes an standard essential patent, namely SEP. In a world, in IP laws code, there are regulatory require friend principle. That is, right holders sharing use their rights in a fair, reasonable, and non-discrimination way. Okay. Privacy, personal information, or personal data is also an important legal issue in open source, but it is often overlooked or has lack of attention during the open source compliance management. For open source platform, it can be regarded as a service provider in legal context, so it must meet the requirements of personal data protection. There is an ongoing case in her personal data breach lawsuit. You may find more details if you are interested. Next, for data, a new perspective we need to look at is that currently the community is discussing whether or not to empower data to have exclusive right as a property. If this comes true, open source community may need to care about the data choice as well. All right, as you may feel, this topic is certainly a big question, but I only have limited time to share. Many details have not been mentioned yet, and still need to further research. Open source software is not only just a simple combination, SE. It goes in their own ways. No, actually, the two fields need to have deeper collaboration. No, exists everywhere in open source. So, for open source stakeholders, I want to say that it's better for you guys to learn some basic legal knowledge, which will benefit you to guide your behaviors in open source. In addition, open source stakeholders should not just passively enforce the law. On the contrast, you should also get involved. That the law includes hear your voice, and that the law also cares about your service. And for law practitioners, I guess what we're going to do next should pay more attention to open source hardware legal issues and try to judge a guideline to help open source stakeholders understand that what they can do and what they cannot do. Besides, open source is imprisoning point and the open source law shall be put on the agenda now. So, all right, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you for your precious time. Thank you again.
Anyone has any questions about the speaker? Okay, if not, then we're gonna switch to the next topic. Thank you.